Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, Meg Sullivan. Today I'll be giving my impressions of the PlayStation 5 demo for Ys 10 Nordics, developed by Falcom and published by NIS. It's a game nobody is really talking about and has only been modestly advertised, but after spending a few hours with this surprisingly meaty demo, all I can ask is, why? Why is hardly anybody talking about this game? Why hasn't there been a lot of coverage for it? Sure, it's a little low poly and it doesn't have the depth and breadth of, say, Baldur's Gate 3, but it's a spunky little action RPG that I think players will really enjoy if they like fast-paced combat and goofy anime characters. Now, I admit I've only played a couple of Ys games before this one. I think I played the Nintendo DS remake of the first two games, and I think I played a little of, E7? I can't remember. But I do remember liking my time with Ys. It just felt like I was always in the middle of some far more grandiose RPG whenever an Ys game came out. But I really wanted to give Ys 10 Nordics a go, and luckily, Ys 10 doesn't seem to require encyclopedic knowledge of the series to enjoy it, although there are a few winks and nods to the audience if they're longtime fans. At any rate, let's first talk about the story and what I think of it. So, as the name Ys 10 Nordics suggests, the game is based on Scandinavian culture and lore and takes place in a very pretty land filled with towering mountains and crystal blue seas swarming with Viking longships and menacing marauders. These bloodthirsty pirates skulk about the Obelia Gulf looking for ships to ransom. At the start of the story, one of these ships just happens to be the one carrying our flame-haired hero Adel and his friends, who have left their homeland in search of new adventure, and it's not long before their ship is overrun by this band of ne'er-do-wells. Adel barely survives his encounter with a pirate princess named Karja, who then commandeers the ship and forces it to port at the nearby town of Karnak. While stuck exploring the town and trying to figure out what to do next, Adel comes across, wait for it, a talking seashell. You heard me right, a talking seashell. This magical seashell decides to randomly bestow Adel with the power of mana, a magical energy that can defeat regenerating monsters known as Greer, which happen to show up on the very shores Adel is walking along. The hero manages to defeat them, but more shortly arrive. And they're not the only unwelcome guests. The pirate princess Karja also puts in an appearance. She wants to test her might against the hero, but first, she uses her own mana powers to defeat the monsters. At this point, the magical seashell senses Karja can use magic and decides to cast a spell that shackles the two humans together so that they have to work in tandem on the battlefield, and off the battlefield, and everywhere. In fact, they're handcuffed so tightly they can't go more than a few yards away from each other. This results in some humorous banter between the two unwilling partners, helped by an all-around solid voice cast, as they try to figure out how to get out of their predicament. But for the time being, they're stuck together, which is a huge problem because while the townspeople like Adel, they hate the pirate princess who's been bullying them. Therefore, Karja has to take on a disguise and play nice with Adel and his friends until she can figure out how to escape. But no sooner are the teens paired up than tragedy strikes the town, pitting Adel and his friends against the evil Greer. The Greer have eerie powers that I'm not going to give away here, but suddenly the mission becomes clear. Whether on land or on the high seas, the protagonists must stop the monsters from whatever evil plan they have to take over the land, or the world? The demo ends before we get a clear answer on that. Now, I, for one, don't really care about a plot involving evil monsters taking over the world. It's a tired anime trope that, hey, matches the tired anime outfits everybody is wearing. But although I'm not intrigued by the bad guys, I am intrigued by the talking seashell and its reasons for tethering Adel to Karja. Like, why did it do that? I'm curious to see where that part of the story is going. In short, the story has potential. But what I like most about this demo, shocking I know, is the gameplay. Gameplay consists of two main categories, exploration and combat. Exploration is okay. Some areas are linear or repetitive, and sometimes the AI-controlled party member will get stuck in a corner and have to reposition itself. But what's cool is that you can use Adel and Karja's mana powers to do things like web sling across gaps, skate through dungeons, burn away obstructions, and create platforms to reach tall ledges. These are features found in other games, so I wouldn't call them original outside the Ys series, but I do like that these features break up the monotony of just walking around everywhere. But the thing I like even more is the combat. Battles happen at a breakneck speed, which makes them tense and exciting. Adel and Karja's attacks are fast and agile, and although there's a cooldown whenever they tap into their replenishing mana meters to pop off a special weapon skill, you don't have to wait too long before you can use that skill again. And while you're waiting, you can swap between the two heroes to access a different set of skills, as the AI-controlled characters will mostly concentrate on melee attacks until you dictate otherwise. But it's far more effective to just hold down a shoulder button that switches the action from solo mode to duo mode. This allows Adel and Karja to attack and defend at the same time. And they not only attack the same monster at the same time, they can also dip into a special meter that lets them trigger unique team strikes that do a lot of damage. That makes dealing with trash mobs much easier, although I admit one boss really gave me a run for my money, and no matter how much I dodged and blocked, both of which are fun to weave into attack combos, I constantly had to revive one of my two heroes on the battlefield before we could take the monster down. You can lower the difficulty level, but it makes me wonder if I didn't quite set up my skill trees correctly. Yes, there are skill trees in this game, and you can either stack similar skills together to make them more powerful, or mix them up for a more balanced approach, but it wasn't overly clear on how to go about doing that in the most effective way possible. I don't know, maybe I'll figure it out. What was less confusing, and definitely something I didn't see coming, was fighting on the high seas. Adel and Karja will acquire their own ship early on in the game and use it to take on Greer prowling the high seas. What's neat is that your ship can do weaker long-ranged attacks and stronger close-ranged attacks that can be made even stronger by upgrading your ship. I was surprised by how much I liked this gameplay feature, and it's a welcome respite from land battles that can often get repetitive. What I didn't appreciate quite as much is that whenever Adel was in trouble in the story, he'd get whisked away to a mysterious island to talk to an old man about his lost memories. I'm not sure where this story about a mysterious island in the middle of the ocean and lost memories is going, but for me, it messes up the pacing. I don't want to explore the island's linear landscape. I just want to see what happens to Adel and his friends. They're in peril, people. All in all, this was an interesting demo, and I sense that this Ys game is a departure from previous iterations. That's encouraging, and I like it, even though some of these mechanics aren't actually new. The graphics are pretty but meh, the music is good, the combat is great, the voice acting is hilarious in a good way, and the story, well, we'll have to see. Have you played Ys 10 yet? Are you interested in it? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you later.